Okay, well, welcome people who are here. Excited to do this. We're going to be talking tonight about adventure creation with Brightsword, DGS's role-playing game. It's in beta right now, is that right? And so I'm excited to do this. I love how to create characters, and I really love the world of Phelan, so excited to kind of dive into this. The first thing I wanted to do here is introduce myself, I guess. My name is Jeff. I'm a quester with DGS Games, and I help promote, Freeblades and Brightsword in my area. And this is really because I'm running an online game that I wanted to help people be able to build characters for. And Brightsword is a lot different than other role-playing games that I've had a privilege of playing. And I just, so it takes a little bit of, wait, what's that and how's that go? But then once you learn it, it's like super intuitive and really easy to build new characters and things like that to spice up your Freeblades games or for Brightsword. And so the first thing I wanted to do here is show you where to get this from. So I'm going to share this in the Discord. Real quick. Screen share. Which one? What's that one? Alright. So we're going to click on my DGS Games tab here. And they got a slick new website. But you're going to click right here on the download section. And open playtest. If you want to get other things, you can click on those as well, but open playtest. And then in there you have the Brightsword Living Rulebook Beta. And that's where you can download the rulebook from if you haven't already. So do that now if you haven't. And just another thing I want to throw out really quick is encounters and vaults are both fantastic ways to play Freeblades. Me and my group love encounters. So, all right. So we're going to go back to the rulebook. So you're going to be on page 25 of the rulebook. Do you guys, anybody, not have a rulebook or need me to hold on for a second?
All set.
Cool. So page 25 is where adventure creation kind of begins. And so we're gonna walk through this. So the first thing that you're gonna want to do is gather a couple of things. You're gonna need dice. What you see I have up here is actually, this is our Roll20 thing. We're working on. I know they're working on a one for World Anvil that we're really excited about. But for the time being, we play in Roll20. And so you can see the Roll20, this is my Roll20 thing. So I'll be using this for dice tonight, and you can see I have some macros set up down here. So if I want a D30, I'll just click it, and it'll roll it. You're going to need a pencil and paper, definitely. And if you have a character sheet, that's also going to be really helpful. If you don't, just get a different piece of paper to write stuff down on. If you want to see how it's laid out, the character sheet is laid out down in, where is it? The last page of the rulebook. Yeah, last page of the rulebook is where the character sheet is, so you can kind of see how that goes there. All right, so we're on page 26 now. And the first thing that we're going to do, actually, first off, gather those materials. You're going to need them. And then, secondly, really, right here, this is super helpful. These little white boxes are insanely helpful because those little white boxes are somebody building a character. It's actually what I'm doing right now, but they've just done that as DGS, and so. All right. The first thing you're going to want to do is pick your race and faction. And so there's several different races in Phelan. By and large, they're actually, as far as mechanics are concerned, they're all pretty similar. The three that stick out mechanically are Kazaric, who start with Die Hard and have the option for Alpine, Mershale, that start with Quick, and Trillions, that start with Starlight Vision. And we'll get into all that, the talents and everything later. But the first thing you're going to want to do is pick your race and characteristics. For the Tomb of Ashard campaign, it takes place in Phalor, between Haradel and Phalor. Is that right, Matt? He's on. I don't know if he's around, though. So,
I'm right here, Jeff.
Oh, okay.
It takes place between Falkard and Haradel in an area called the Deathmore.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt. I appreciate that. Yeah, I didn't mean Phalor. I meant Falkor. I have the Phalor swordsman on my mind, so... so it takes place in Falkar and Haradel, between there. And so for that campaign setting, the Phalor might be a good option for you to choose. However, you can pick whatever you want. And that's going to determine what country you're from or what faction you align with. And so you'll pick that after race. And then that'll tell you what your starting language is, and we'll get to that in a little bit. And then it gives you these natural roles. And so we're going to go to the next page down here, and we're going to talk about natural roles. All right? And so natural roles are, you're going to roll a d30, and you're going to get that many rolls on this chart. And so if I'm playing a Phalor, I'm going to get 3 rolls on the natural talent chart. And that's how that's going to go. And so it'll be, and so guys can roll those right now. They're pretty fun, and I'll talk about them in just a second. There we go. Want to enable scrolling because it'll work a little better. There we are. And so for the character I'm doing, I'm going to roll 3 times, and because I'm going to play Phalor. I got a 12, 4, and 18. So on the chart, 12 is enhanced attribute. It's pretty good. 4 is +1 die level to an attribute. This character's shaping up pretty good. And lucky! Oh, man. That's so good. Okay, so I'm pretty excited about this. I might actually just build this character for real. But that's what you get. So the clickable links on the rulebook are going to be, they're going to drop you down to the talent or the skill that is involved with those clickable links. They're in blue. I'm going to talk about attribute die levels really quick, and I'm sharing this with an assumption that you have a base idea of how Freeblades works. Brightsword is kind of the parent of Freeblades, and so if you know how to play Freeblades, you're going to know how to play Brightsword. And so I'm just working on that assumption that you understand die levels and some of the basics of it. You don't need to have a mastery of the game. Maybe I'll do something on how to play Freeblades, but alright, so with the +1 die level attribute, if you get multiple instances of +1 die level attribute, you can't apply that instance to the same ability more than once. So if I got 3 +1 die level attributes, I can't bring my base up 3 die levels for free, but I can apply it to 3 different ones. And so that's how that one works. If you get +1 speed, your base speed goes up by 1. That's cool. Otherwise, pretty much all these are, perception. Tough gives you an extra hit point. Enhanced attribute, which is what I got, is pretty good. It lets you re-roll skills and talents that are focused on that attribute. So if I want to get re-roll my dodges, I'd put that into agility, and I'd make my agility enhanced attribute. If I want to be a really good caster, I'd make it a knowledge or something like that. So that's what enhanced attribute does. And then lucky gives you start the game with a fate stone. So that's pretty fun. And all Freebladers start with a fate, or all Freeblades and Brightsword start with a fate stone anyway, and so you get 2. So it's pretty exciting. Anyway, so you'll roll those. Then we're going to come down here, and I am going to talk about all the base stats and stuff. So there's 6 stats in base attributes, rather. 6 attributes. They're all going to start at a D8. So you can give yourself, if you're writing down with me right now, write down strength, dex, agility, endurance, spirit, and knowledge, and give yourself a D8 in each of those. areas. All right, a D8 is your base starting value for all of these. It doesn't give you any bonuses, but it also doesn't give you any negatives. So you're going to start with those D8 and all of those. Strength is going to govern your melee damage rolls. Dex is going to govern how well you hit things in melee and at ranged. Agility is going to govern your defense. Endurance is going to give you more life points. Spirit is it's like a will save in another game. Endurance is like con in other games, but Spirit is kind of like your will save. It's going to help you with it's going to help you against spells and things like that. And then knowledge. Knowledge is governs a great deal of skills. So if you want to be a real skillful person, knowledge is good. It also governs your caster ability rating. So if you want to be a spellcaster, you are going to want some knowledge as well. All right. Then you're going to put your base speed down to 7. Everybody starts at 7. That will get modified more than likely. Everybody's base defense is 4. If you have a higher agility, that's going to go up, but your base defense is a 4. Everybody starts with basic clothing, so your base armor is a 2. And we're going to get armor later on if you want to build a fighter type. I'm going to talk about how to build different things in a minute. Go ahead.
Kazaric don't start at speed 7, is that correct?
Kazaric are speed 6. They're the only ones that start at speed 6.
That's what I'm building, so I'm making sure.
Yep. They're stubby little legs. Thanks for the question. Yeah, if you guys have questions, just pop in and ask. Your base life points, everybody starts with 2 life points. And then your base skills. So everybody has a general ability in all skills. So you're going to get a D8 in all of these skills. It's going to be great. And those are, you can see them here, they're climb, discipline, find, jump. Your language, go back to your race, and that'll determine what language you're in. Perception, and swim. For the Tomb of Ashar campaign, I recommend people take at least a D6 in Faelish, so that you guys can communicate with each other. It's kind of important. Or D4 anyway in Faelish, so. Anyway, so that's
D4.
Yeah. Be super good at it. Speak broken Faelish.
Tarch it, and then.
Yeah, and then miscommunicate. So that's what you're gonna do there. You're gonna level up over AP, and that's using AP, and we'll get to that in a minute. Now, what I want you to do is, if you have all that taken care of, you put all your basic stuff in. Now we're going to go back to your natural talent rolls. And you're going to modify any of those things that we just entered with your natural talent rolls. So I'm just going to scroll up here. And so I got +1 die level attribute, and I'm going to play a caster, and so I'm going to put that +1 die level into knowledge because I want a little bit better knowledge. And then I also am going to make that my enhanced attribute. So any skills or anything that are based on knowledge, I'm going to get to reroll. So that's going to be pretty exciting. If you got +1 speed, adjust your speed. If you got multiple +1 die levels, pump those up. If you got tough, give yourself an extra hit point. So now you got 2 or 3 rather to start with. And if your climb, jump, or swim or perception went up, give yourself better of those. Discipline goes up, give yourself better of that. When you bump up a die level, you start with a D8. And so if, let's say we got a climb increase here. So we start with a D8. What we're going to do there is you're going to go up 2 die levels. So it goes to a D10, then a D12. So you're going to have a D12 climb. Watch out, rock wall. You can't stop me. All right, any questions up to this point? Cool. Again, if you have questions, feel free to ask. The next thing, we're going to talk about paths. So Brightsword doesn't have classes like in the traditional sense. And frankly, I'm going to ignore the classes and professions section here. It hasn't been fully fleshed out yet, and so... But it could give you something to go towards. So let's say you really love the Fist of Vidnar, and you really want to play a Fist of Vidnar in Brightsword, look at his stats and then try to mimic his stats, and you can build towards that kind of a class if you want to. But those are just suggestions. They're working on creating something more formal for that. Again, we're kind of in beta, so. All right, so paths. You can choose from one of 6 paths, and I think they're pretty cool, and this is how you're going to build your character more or less. You don't get locked in. So if you pick a path, yes, you're locked into that path, but you can take any talent in the game, and there's rules for that. I'm going to go over the paths, and then I'm going to talk about the rules for that. All right, so first off, the path of Phelan. The first one is the Path of the Blade. If you want to play a knight or a fighter or like a swashbuckler or something like that, you're probably going to want to pick the Path of the Blade. Anybody who's going to be a major like frontline fighter or just like a dope fighter of some sort is going to want to pick Blade. The next one is the Path of the Coin. These are really skillful people. They're your engineers and merchants. And they don't get a lot of combat utility, but they get a lot of social interaction utility. So if you want to play a face type character, coin is definitely the route that you're going to want to pick. Yeah, you're still going to have some combat viability. You know, everybody can be in combat, but you're going to really shine in the more social interaction type settings.
Artesian as well.
Yep. And yeah, crafting and stuff like that. I know somebody wants to play Gordon Ramsay. He would probably be a coin. Maybe, I don't know. Path of the Horn is the next one. These are going to be your hunters, farmers. The forester is a horn path type character. And so if you want to play a ranger type character, that's going to be your horn. Mask. This is your rogue and your thieves, assassins, and also your bards. So if you want to play a bard, you're going to want to be a mask character. Next one is scroll. These are your wizards and scholars and healers. So spirit magic. If you want spirit magic or energy magic, you're going to want to pick a path of scroll. And the last one down there is wheel. These are your generalists, general explorers and stuff like that. They get some cool weapons, but they're really generalists. And so that's your wheel. They're going to be really good at moving across like all types of terrain effectively. So you're going to pick a path, and then let's say you pick the Path of the Blade, right? And you want to play a blade character. That's really cool. But you also want to cast, first level fire spells really speak to you. You don't want to major in magic, but you want a little bit of it. That's where out of path comes into play. So you can take out of path talents, and we'll get to that in a minute. But out of path talents, they're just going to cost you 1 extra AP to take. So I want to take an out of path talent. So I want to be I'm a blade character, but I really want to cast fire spells. And so I'm going to take attuned, which is the fire magic intro talent, and it costs 5 normally, but for my blade character it costs 6, 1 extra. Same goes with skills. Out of path skills are going to cost you 1 extra AP, and that's it. All right, any questions about paths?
I think it's good to mention too, certain paths have different weapon characteristics too that you have access to. So I believe it's wheel that you get more exotic and kind of unique weapons. And
that's why I said that they get a lot there. We're going to look at the weapons stuff here in a little bit. But all right, so any other questions or comments about paths?
Just make sure it's clear. So you can take the path, and that tells you this list of skills. Other skills you still have access to. So if you want some magic spells, you can get it. Just costs more.
Yep.
And further down, you're still stuck with that. That's your path.
Yeah. Once you pick a path, that's your path. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So you kind of want a general idea of what you'll be doing in mind, but the level up system is pretty fluid in this versus like rigid, like level 1, level 2. It's a really fluid level system, and so you're gonna get to play around with it. All right, so starting adventure points. or AP, you're going to start with 25 AP. That's a new character, so you get to spend 25 AP on whatever you want, except there's a limit. 5 of those 25 AP needs to be spent on skills, secondary skills, that are not disc. So we're going to get into all those attribute increases and all the skills right now. Alright, and what I'm doing is I'm just rolling through the book, so you should be able to follow along. I'm on page 33. Alright, so your primary skills. There are 4 primary skills. Melee attack rating, ranged attack rating, caster rating or CAR, and perform. Those are your 4 primary skills. Any other skill is a secondary skill. So those are your 4 primary. Every other skill is a secondary skill. And there's a big chart of skills at the bottom of this section that we'll look at, and you'll see MAR, CAR, RAR, and perform on there. So those are primary skills. They're going to level up a little differently, and you can't spend those 5 AP on them. Melee attack rating. This is like, I want to hit a guy in melee. Cool. Blam. That's melee attack rating. That's what you're going to roll to hit a guy. You're going to have to develop that. If you want to dual wield, let's do it, man. Let's dual wield. But you're going to need to develop both melee attack ratings separately. You're going to develop each of them independently. And so you're going to have to spend extra points to be able to dual wield like that. And if you want to do unarmed, it's the pink right here. If you want to be like a monk and punch people in the face with D4s, go for it. You still have to develop those separately, but they work just a tidge different. Everybody starts at a D4 with unarmed. And it's non-grouped. It's a basic melee weapon. So, all right. So that's your MAR. Ranged attack is you want to shoot somebody with a bow, go for it. Have fun. It's the same thing. You're going to develop it that way. And as the weapons are going to be delved into these different groups. So let's say you're using a longsword, which I think is a heavy blade, and you want to use a bastard sword instead, also a heavy blade. You can use that. It's just at -1 die level MAR. Don't quote me on those two being in the same group. Look at the weapon groupings down in the items section, and you'll see the groupings, and it'll make sense. So if you come across like a sweet weapon, but it's like not the weapon that you have a MAR in, you can still pick it up and use it. You're just a little weaker in it. So that goes for ranged attacks as well, bow, short bow, stuff like that. Your caster ability rating. So for your casters, you're gonna want to buy, if you want to be a spirit caster, and there's lots of different types of spirit and lots of different types of energy. If you want to be a spirit caster, you're gonna want to buy Chosen. It's a 5 talent or 5 AP talent. And if you want to be a fire caster, you're going to want to choose Attuned, also 5 AP. Either of those is going to give you 5 power to cast spells with and a D6 caster ability rating, as you can see here. And then from there, you can increase it like a normal primary skill. And again, we're going to talk about that. Or if you want to get more power and just be like, you have all the power, 1 AP gets you 5 power. So there are other ways to get power as well, so you can do that. And then perform, same thing. If you want to buy additional performances, you're going to pay 2 AP per performance, it looks like. Yeah, you get 3 performances when you pick your initial, so that's fun. Then you can develop it from there. And right now they only have the 2 performances charts, and you can see those here on page 35, but there you go.
Jeff, I just realized,
yeah,
if you're recording this, you're not actually displaying the rule book. We're all going through it.
Actually, I am displaying the rule book in the recording.
Okay, because I just have live the Michigan Brightsword League.
Yeah. That's all I have up that I'm sharing via Discord.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yep, okay. It's a good question. I'm recording with OBS, and I'm going through. I have the rule book up in OBS. So it's getting recorded. So there's that. Good thought, though. Thanks for the heads up. Okay. So that's your primary skills. Any questions about primary skills? It's pretty straightforward. Cool. And we'll see how to develop those in a minute. Secondary skills are literally anything else. There's a massive chart of skills that you can spend some time perusing, and you still won't get them all. Some of those are still under development. You'll have questions. Again, it's beta. If you have questions, post it in the Freeblades Brightsword, or the Brightsword players group, and Matt or John will likely get back to you or tell you, hey, that's a little later on. So that's secondary skills there. And then general skills are the ones that we already talked about: climb, perception, swim, those. Everybody starts at D8 there. Everybody else starts at nothing with secondary skills. You can do any of them untrained, but you take a -2 to the check and you only roll D4. So good luck. Alright, and then acquiring talents. There's a huge list of talents, and you're going to acquire those talents for their AP cost. I'll explain the chart in a moment. Anything out of path is +1 to your AP. +1 AP to whatever you're trying to do with it. So, all right. If you get a talent that gives you a mount, you start with a mount. Good for you. If you get a talent that gives you a familiar or a animal companion, you start with those. There's some fear and morale rules. These are just some additional rules and stuff. You'll want to come up with a backstory and appearance. Your starting equipment, I love this. You start with a set of normal clothing for your path, profession, culture, and status. And you start with a weapon that you have developed a MAR or a RAR in, as well as a score of relevant ammunition. And so whatever you purchase the ammunition in that bunch, you start with that much of it. So like if you want to be a Kazark with that big hand cannon thing that I can't pronounce, go for it. You have 5 shots. Have fun. Those shots are very expensive. You also start with 1 suit of armor and 1 shield in which you have the talent. So you're going to have to take talents to get those, to develop those. And then you get 500 other bronze talents to like do stuff with, and so that's fun. You can see that here. All right. Now, all right, so I understand the skills and I understand developing all this. How do I actually go about that? Well, I'm glad you asked. We're going to go about that with this big chart here. It looks a little complicated. It's very simple, actually. So with a MAR, I'll start with your attributes first. With your attributes. So right here, you see AP cost for primary skill or attribute. Now I'm on page 39. So AP cost for primary skill or attribute. So remember, our attributes are strength, agility, dexterity, knowledge, endurance, and spirit. Our primary skills are MAR, RAR, CAR, and perform. All right?
Perform.
Yep. And it's perform there. So we're going to do... how you're going to do this is all of your attributes start at a D8. All right? Unless you've gotten a +1 die level attribute. And so if you start at D8, let's say you start at D8 strength, but you know you want a D12 in that. You can look at the D8 base directly. And so I want a D12. It's from a D8. It's going to cost me 4 AP to get that D12. But let's say let's go to the caster I was building earlier. I got +1 die level knowledge, and I know I want to develop the knowledge up to a D14. Well, I can't go directly from D8 because I have a D10 already. And so what I'm going to do is buy per level. All right, and so I'm going to buy. It's going to cost me 2 to get to the D12, and then it's going to cost me 3 more to get to the D14 for a total of 5 AP to get to my D14. All right. Does that make sense? That's our ability rating, our abilities if we want to do that. But I'm assuming most of us want to hit something in close combat or shoot something with our pew pew bow and arrow machine. And so for that, we actually need to develop it directly. All right, or per level. And so to develop it directly, you're going to look at, all right, I want to fight with a longsword. That sounds really cool to me. I love the Shadow Hunter and I really want to have a longsword. And so for that, if you have a Mar in mind, you can buy directly. To buy directly, you're just going to look at that middle column, and you say, I want a Mar D10. Directly, D10, it's going to cost you 5. If you want to develop it level by level, you can do that. It's going to be 1 for a D4, 1 more for a D6 for 2, 1 more for a D8 for 3, and 2 more for a D10 for 5. So you see how that adds up, and it's the same either way. So remember, if you want to, if you want to develop a Mar or a Rar, or do 2-weapon fighting, Mar, that's what I was trying to say. If you want to do 2-weapon fighting, you're going to have to develop each Mar separately. So if you want a D10, D10 with your 2 long swords, go for it. It's going to cost you 10 AP. Alright? So that's that. Those are your attributes and your primary skills. For your secondary skills, it's the same thing. All of our base skills that start at a D8 already, you can buy directly. Or you can base D8 buy directly. Otherwise, you can just buy it directly if you know what die level you want in it, or per level. And you're going to come back here when you get AP to spend. You're going to come back here to continue to develop those skills and Mars and Rars and attributes and stuff. All right. Any questions about this chart?
Just to rehash earlier, when you said our starting equipment and everything, you said we start with a weapon with a Mar, or we need to buy the weapon?
No, so if you go back up to page 38, it says, 1 of each weapon in which they are skilled, along with a score of relevant ammunition, is something you start with. So if you develop 2 Mars, you get both weapons. Alright. So, any other questions about purchasing? For these, upping your die levels for these various things. Great. Alright, so moving on to page 40 here. Now we're going to look at those paths, alright? So, and weapons. And so you're going to look at, so the blade path here can use any non-exotic weapon. Non-exotic weapon. And there's a weapons chart later on in the book where it lists everything out as basic, exotic, military, so on and so forth. Specialist, whatever. And so you can use any non-exotic weapon here, or any non-exotic ranged weapon in the blade path. And I'll let you kind of look through that, basic weapons and so on and so forth, with the different paths. Wheel or any. They're wide open. Do whatever you want with wheel. There's also these faction weapons. So, if you want to play, I'm going to butcher this, but if you want to play as the Eclipse, you can get Sakazet as a basic weapon. And that does a D8 plus 1 for damage. That's pretty good. So that's a basic weapon for you. Or a specialist weapon would be a barbed javelin. Fantastic. It's a D6 plus 1 weapon. Or Rundar, which is it's a D6 plus 1 bow. It's what the Night Whisperer uses. If you want to play Falkar, you'll see a Kolakar is a military weapon for them. And so this chart adjusts the weapon that the type of weapon that it's going to fall into there. And so you're going to be able to look at kind of what you have in mind for your character. Vranshar is the Khazaric hand cannon thing, and you can see that's a specialist weapon. So then I come up here and I look, and man, if I want to play that Dwarven Grenadier guy, I need to be a Horn, because they're the ones that can use specialist weapons. And so you kind of want to put that all together and what type of weapon you want to use and stuff like that now. It's not something, to my knowledge, that you can take. Well, that you can take. You can't get exotic weapon proficiency, I don't think. John can correct me on that. So that's what your basic starting proficiencies and all that are. with that, guys, you are ready to build your character. There's a few other notes. We are not going to, I'm not, as for my game, I'm not going to let you decrease to get some extra AP. And I am not having the quirks come into play. And so we're just doing basic 25 AP adventures to kick us off with, just for ease sake. Later on, you might develop a quirk, and I would give you those extra APs if we decide to go that route. But here's a unique profession, the Fistividnar. You'd be a scroll path, Haredell. You choose Varanic Rights as chosen. You need that. And then you need to develop a Mar with the Warmatic and armor use, chosen warrior. And so you can develop all that. Here's their developed characters that they have on 43 and 44. And then I want to point out the chart on page 46 as you're looking at developing your attributes. D8 and D6 are not listed, and it's because they're +0. So if you have a strength and you lower it to a D4, you're going to be -1 on all strength skills and melee damage rolls. But if you go to a D10, you're +1 on all melee damage rolls and strength skills. So that's pretty cool. And you can see how the chart goes. If you somehow develop a D30 in something, 1, congratulations, and 2, you're +4 to that thing. So the reason I want to hide knowledge with my caster is because at a D10, you can see here that I am +1 to my casting rolls, which is pretty exciting. And so I'm +1 to my casting rolls. So I'm going to roll a D, whatever my car ends up being, and I get to roll a D10. So let's say it's a D6. I just put the 1 point into it. D6 +1 makes my spells a little easier to go off, especially summoning spells, spirit magic people. Also gives you a better chance to spike and stuff like that. Alright, so here's a skill table. You can see the name of the skill, what the skill does, the governing attribute, and so that's going to be back up here on page 49. That's going to tell you what attribute governs it, and so you'll get the plus or minus if you get down to a D4 based on those attributes. What type of action it is, so acrobatics is a free action, and then what paths it's in. The paths are just initialed by their first initial of the different path is all that you get. So acrobatics is a mask skill. So if I want to take that as my fighter, my blade path, it's going to cost me an extra point every time I want to develop it. So each time you develop those skills, it's going to cost you 1 extra AP.
And just to be sure, that's develop it or each level. So if I'm going up 2 levels, I'm developing it twice or just developing it once?
Every time you bump the die, every time you get a die increase, that's developing it is just working on it, like building it out. And so, yep, every die level increase and an out of path skill is going to be an extra AP. So you can see how it's kind of good to make sure you're looking at what path you want to do off the bat. And really, it's pretty intuitive. So like, mask makes sense for acrobatics, right? If you have ever played Pathfinder or D&D, the fighter generally doesn't have acrobatics as a class skill. You know what I mean? But the rogue always does. So it's kind of intuitive in that way. And you can look through all of these, and you'll see on here, discipline, that's going to be good for morale and leadership and training and stuff like that. It's a general skill. G is general. Anybody can do it. And remember, your 5 points have to be spent on general skills that are not discipline.
Hey, Jeff.
Or secondary skills, not discipline. Yeah, John, what's up?
So we got Matt and I are hanging out here, and we're loving this. This is awesome. And we got a couple of things at the end. So whenever you're done, just let us know. But you had somebody join you, and I'm not sure they know that you also have the rulebook open into what page.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I have the rulebook open right now, and I'm on page 48, which is where all the skills are. Here, I'll just go ahead and share that in Discord. Change windows. There you go. So yeah, in the recording, it's the rule book is up the whole time I've been talking here, so the recording will be good. Also, welcome. Thanks for joining. And then we'll go down a little bit here, and we'll look at some of the talents. And so there's a lot of different types of talents. They're going to be by path, right? And you'll see what paths they're in. Some of them are response talents. That means someone has to do something to you for you to be able to use that talent. Parry is an example of a response talent. And they're marked with an R. Optional talents are things like sidestep, where I know that's a reaction talent. Optional talents are like weaponeer is an optional talent. You don't have to do it. Or shield parry is an optional talent. You can choose to do it. Block. You can choose to sack your Mar for a parry attempt. Those are some optional talents. Some are stackable. You'll see those in brackets with an X. The effects are stackable. They're cumulative. An adventure with a Lude 2 can designate 2 adventures to not get reaction attacks off of them. And so on and so forth. So, and then there's some armor talents that you're gonna get, and it's gonna reduce your speed. It's gonna be great. You're gonna love it. Basically, if you take anything above light, your speed is gonna be reduced. So you'll need to develop those talents. And armor use is actually right here on page 56, and you can see what AV it's gonna cost you for what. Blade and wheel have all of the armors, but mask and horn are only medium armor. I assume that's up to medium armor. So, cool. Does anybody have any questions up to this point? We've been talking about talents and stuff like that. I'm sure you're busy building your characters. Has this been helpful for you guys to like put stuff together and figure out how it goes?
Yeah.
Cool. Great. Oh yeah, the one last thing I was going to say with talent, there's a cost over there, and it's going to be X or 1 or 2. That's the cost in AP. So like if you want to do accurate strike, you need to meet the prereqs first. So you need the dex, and dex you guys all start with, D8, so that's good. But you need to have a D10 in your melee weapon, and then blade and mask, and then the cost is however many accurate strike you want is the cost. So it's cost X. All right. So I want accurate strike 3. All right, that's going to be 3 AP. All right. I'll talk about 2 other things regarding spells, as I think they're one of the more difficult things to develop. They took me a while to sort around. So with spells, I'm gonna jump down to page 120. Way down there. When you buy attuned or chosen, it gives you a D6 car. That is the only talent that gives you car. None of the other ones do. And so how do I develop that? Well, that gives you car. So now it's a primary skill, and now you can develop it from there. And how you develop it is you can just buy the die levels, right? But you'll also want to develop your caster level, because unless you want to be a guy that's rolling a D14 but only knows first level spells, which actually could be pretty cool, you're going to want higher and higher level spells. To do that, you need to develop the car, and on page 120 you can see the levels. So novice is your first level. That's going to be chosen or attuned. But then you're going to need to take apprentice. That's going to be another talent. You're going to need a D8 car before you take that, and you're going to get apprentice. That's going to unlock your second level spells. All right, and then initiate and so on, and you can kind of see on the chart on 120 how that's going to develop. All right. There's also some armor that's involved here. All right. that I'm going to talk about because armored casting is kind of sad. But before I do that, the tier. In Brightsword, the spells are either I or C. I is instantaneous, C is continual or concentration. The tier, what tier you are, is how many concentration spells you can have active at once. So if you really pump into casting and you get up to initiate level 1, that unlocks your 3rd level spells. Cool. So you'll be a lot like a Freeblades caster, but you know all 9 spells from each list at all times. So you have 27 spells to choose from when you're casting. It's pretty great. And you're going to be able to keep 2 concentration or continual spells up at the same time. So like my Moon Priest can have the Spirit Warrior and the Spirit Archer out there fighting and duking it out at the same time. It's pretty cool. So that's pretty neat. With armored casting, each type of magic, there it is, has a AV that you can have without penalty. So that's on 122. You can see the chart there. Fire, ice, water, earth, air all have AV2. Right? And then some of the other ones you can see AV2. When you start getting shadow, illusion, totem, those are going to be AV3. Veranic rites and necromancy are 4. Sorcery is 4. None of you guys can take sorcery, unfortunately. Sorry. That's kind of reserved. But you can be a Fist of Vidnar with medium armor having an AV of 4 and have no casting penalty. Or you can be a necromancer, Juice, and you can have AV4. And I know he's planning on building a necromancer and he's in chat, and so anyway, there's that. And the other cool thing, I think this is cool, there are universal innate abilities that you can take, and you can read all about those on 123 and 124. So like if you're a fire wizard, you get elemental stuff, and then you can glow, and then you can create campfires or bubble large enough to fit over somebody's head, an air bubble or something, depending on what type of energy magic you choose. All sorts of cool stuff. So
I think they prefer the term after work or after death employers.
Oh yeah, my bad. Sorry, not necromancer, after death employer. Does anybody have any questions? That's pretty much the end of my spiel about this. I'm open to questions, to answer anything that you guys have, or even talk builds and help you kind of sort through what are some cool talents that I could take and stuff like that. So I'll give you guys a minute to think through those things, but I'd love to have Jon. I'll invite Jon back in, and he can share some stuff at this point. Jon, are you there?
Yes, we're here.
Oh yeah, there you go. If you want to share some stuff, go for it.
In the glorious temple of awesome that is the DGS headquarters.
Your basement?
Hey, shush for that. So, do you want us to say something, or are we just hanging out? What are we doing?
I mean, we're hanging out. People can ask questions and stuff. You guys had something that you wanted to say when I was all done.
We got a couple. Okay. This was Jeff. Matt agrees with me. This was really, really good.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I wish I had as good a command of these damn rules as you do. So.
Well, I didn't write them, so
Well, I just make bad rules for good models.
One
thing to, I think I heard you say a couple times. This is minor, but an enhanced attribute gives you a reroll. It actually makes the use of a secondary skill or an attribute test on attribute threshold 5 for a crit.
That's right. Yeah. I was thinking expert. I was thinking of expert.
It's actually better than a reroll, but
Yeah, I'll take that over a reroll.
Yeah, and I really do believe you rolled an 18 on your natural talents. All my players do too.
Oh my gosh.
So you were talking. One of the things you highlighted earlier that we're really working on hard here is unique professions, like the kind of thing that the Fist of Vidnar is, where there's sort of hybrids that do specific things, that have like some things that would normally be in their path, out of path, and some things that wouldn't normally be in that path, in path. We're going to greatly expand that, and to some things that are already from Freeblades, but some things you haven't seen yet either. But we don't like the name unique professions. And so we are going to have a contest amongst the lore master level subscribers on World Anvil to name, because we're not going to use the term prestige class either for various reasons. So to name a category of what are these people that are, or these archetypes that, mix up the path rules a little bit to produce these, templates for making characters that are different than the standard path party line. And unique profession is just a placeholder. It's boring. So we're going to have a naming contest. People want to keep an eye out for that because we're going to give away a pro-painted Truth Seeker as a prize, in addition to the person getting to be the one that calls what that's called. We're in the process of expanding the rules for crafting. If you're a coin, it looks boring. That's because it's not intuitive how you use the craft skill and precision work and those other things to do stuff like during the narrative part of your campaign to make cool gear and improvements and things for your players. It's there, but it's not, a person reads it wouldn't get what's supposed to be happening there, I don't think. And we could do more for the reader. So we're expanding that rule out.
Awesome.
So that
yeah.
It's just more of a reason to have that person, more of a reason to do certain things. We're going to expand the help to the game master for, between adventure, what downtime activities, whatever it's called in different games, between beating an encounter, what the player characters can do. And crafting will be a big part of that, as it should be. You mentioned, you were giving an example of somebody making a blade and then going and spending the AP out of path to get fire magic. And that's totally true. What you said was totally true. But one of the things that players kind of got to decide is when they pick their path, they're picking what they know they're going to put a lot of their effort into needs to be in path, and what they're going to dabble in needs to be out of path.
Mm-hmm.
There's no need to do that if you don't want to be primarily fighting, because you'll be inefficient as a caster. And one of those ways is the armored casting rule. Certain of the magics take a big hit when you put metal armor on. And so if your armor, 5, 6, or 7, you're going to be hurting your ability to cast spells. The Fist overcomes it because he has a talent.
Chosen warrior.
Right? And there are going to be other people like that. There's going to be a classic character called Blade Casters. You didn't hear that from me, but that will be one of those unique profession templates where you get a talent like Chosen Warrior that mitigates that, so casting an armor is easier. But that's just something to watch for. But the thing to remember out of what I just said is, if you're thinking about your character concept, the reason why you choose one path over another is because most of what I want to do is in that path. And sometimes people go, ooh, I can be a blade and I can cast spells, so I'll go be a blade and then have all my spell points be out of path, and then really spend more time trying to develop their spell list in their car than they are spending on fighting talents, and they could have done it the other way around. They could have done what a Shadowhunter does and be a caster and go spend a few extra points on the fighting part, because really they're going to be most of the time developing their ability to cast spells and add lists of spells to what they can cast.
Yeah, I made a javelin guy that does the fire thing. He's a blade, but he took fire because I wanted the cloak of fire to charge in, chuck a spear, have the fire up, and everything. I thought that'd be so cool.
That's exactly right. Like you said earlier, it's also cool. We're starting to see people outside of the playtest group exploring some of the possibilities. Like you said, hey, what if I've got Car D16 and one spell list, and I put all my points in power and I just spell boost, the novice list that I really like, and I don't really need some of these other things because of my particular character concept. Totally okay, and so people should spend time exploring it. All I wanted to say out of that was, as you're you're kind of scribbling down what your character concept is, once you kind of figure out what you sort of want to spend most of your time doing, pick that path.
Yep.
And then get the other stuff, out of path that you want to do. So we don't have to have a separate rule for multi-class characters.
Right.
This is our way of doing that. And then it's pronounced Vranchar.
Oh, there. Thanks.
I'm trying to help. It's also pronounced Sakazit, but you did really good with that one, so we're not going to pick on it.
Thanks.
If you just using this as an example, I'm not picking on you, Jeff. You did an amazing job. This is actually a really cool point you made. But if you remember going back to that table, it shows. I want to see.
Is it the weapons?
Yeah. Page we on there? 40. Page 40.
Yeah.
So if this is because you touched on it, but I want to make another point in addition to this. So if you look at Kuzarek, the Vranchar, the frost grenade cannon, is under specialist weapon. And if you look up at the ranged weapons on the table above, under path weapons, it would indicate that maybe that your guy that carries that is a horn. But the Grenadier, from Free Blades, is a blade.
He's a blade?
Yeah, because it's any
any non-exotic, yeah.
Right? And what's cool about being a wheel is you have both any in your weapons category, both kinds, melee and ranged, and any in your armor talent choices. So a wheel could be in plate mail with a Rundar, or a Kolakar and armor value 7, or whatever they wanted to be, or both. A Rundar and a Kolakar at armor value 7, because they picked it up along their travels and are basically the Phalon equivalent of a conquistador. So wheels are. I want to have done it all. I've already done that. I climbed that mountain. I swam that river. Callista Star Chaser, somebody you haven't met yet. When we start releasing some of these NPCs, as a classic. I've done it all. A wheel type character. So that tabler is literal. So a blade can have any non-exotic. And so by declaring the Vranchar a specialist weapon to Kuzarek, it becomes non-exotic to them, so a blade can have it. And actually, in Free Blades with armor 5 and a mace, the Grenadier isn't, the worst follower in the world.
He's savage.
Yeah,
I've lost heroes to him in melee, and it's like, come on.
Your Vranchar, I think you're a missile guy. Bang! Ow! Wait, So just a little note there. You did a great job describing that. I just wanted to take it to a little bit to the next level with that, where that the combination. I think the combinations between the two tables on page 40 aren't always perfectly evident if you don't spend a minute looking at it and saying, "Oh, wait a minute," And we probably ought to make some kind of play aid that puts these two tables on the same page with the armor choices and who gets them path-wise.
So, what is the? Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting it. The leader of the Falcaran starter box.
Bladeseeker?
Thank you. What is his path? Because he uses a Kolakar, but that's an exotic. But it's military for Falcar. Yeah. Never mind.
Yeah,
right. I answered my own question.
Point. It's military for Falcar because the barony of Jendal is where Kolakars are made.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but that's lore that we're only really starting to dive into, that we can get to the players at that level of detail, and so who the different Falcaran Bladesworn are, like a guy from the Archbarony of Tlar, his weapon's a Sakazit, and why is that true? People know that. That's why with Garrick here. Wait 1 second, the boss is here. Hold on.
Yes. Oh, hi, Julie.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, so she must be obeyed. You know the deal. So I'm not talking about Julie. She left.
Oh, okay. The real boss. Okay, I got it.
So anyway, there's going to be. We only have one placeholder template for that kind of character, what kind of adventurer with the Fist of Midnar. But there are dozens, more than dozens, that are coming. Where you can be. Now I know why the Caradel Blade Sister fights that way, but a Blade Sister in Jendal would fight with a Kolakar. It's because that's where all the schools are and why they're that way, So more to follow. on that for sure. That's what we had, just sitting here kind of scribbling notes while you were talking.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
I'm glad you mentioned the crafting thing, because I actually took coin and making a Khazaric crafter. I've made a couple characters with Jeff already, but I was noticing that as I scrolled through the talents that it seemed there's a few in there, but just not as many for coin as the other stuff. And the progression tree, like you were talking about, wasn't as evident until I started looking.
Yeah, we're not doing you any favors in making that too. You have to really sit there and kind of rub the eraser on your pencil against your forehead to figure out why is that there. Oh yeah, now I see. I take precision work. I go to the items section. I see what the duration of that task is to make the suit of whatever armor. That's not obvious. It's too hard. And so we're going to do a whole section that just explains that really clearly and throw in some extra talents to make it even sexier. Because the coin ought to be able to be a big player, even if they're not necessarily. Because the coins in a playtest group have been crafter merchants. So when they're in interactions, they're often the talker. The blades are there ready to hit everything because it all looks like a nail. But, the coin goes up and does the chatting. Until the fight breaks out, inevitably. But
then they hide.
Right.
Bribery. Bribery.
But then downtime activities. And really it's going to be, as a game master, you have a responsibility to make the narrative, interactions, and exploration, investigation, and downtime all as equally as exciting to your players as a group as your fights. It's just part of the art. And so the mechanics are there for a coin to do that, but we're making it too hard on you to puzzle it out. Let's just explain it, straight up on a simple one-pager. How do I go about that with a good, solid example? Oh, then you're everybody's friend. You can make me armor. I'll have to go buy it. I have to go find it in the Tower of Doom. Right? Yeah, sure. I'll make that for you. And I'll make it better than the kind of suit you have now. I'll take the agility bonus off or penalty off or something like that. So we need to give you a better rule. It's on the way. Help us on the way.
Very cool. Well, does anybody have questions about builds or wanna chat build or anything like that? I'd love to hear what type of characters you guys are currently working on building.
Well, for me, I was going for a Marshall wheel, but it was going to have a little bit of spells, but I haven't looked through it enough to tell for sure what I'm going to do.
Gotcha. Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's there's a lot in the talents. I always as I'm building, I'm just scrolling through the talents page, or the talents table, usually, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play a wheel. All right, wheel, and I'm just looking for where wheel shows up to know what talents are kind of in path for me. John, this has been mentioned. I feel like it would be a waste of paper. Digital paper. But one thing that's been requested is as you develop this better, make a talent page, like a talent list for each path. So here's all the blade talents. Here's all the...
I actually have an answer to that.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and first of all, yeah, it's not going to be paper-based, but you already pointed that out.
Yep.
So, all right, so right now we're looking at Brightsword as an expression as a PDF while it's in beta, but it's being moved into World Anvil. And so there'll be a day when Brightsword goes live full up in World Anvil where that's where you go to get your rules. And so there'll be a book cover on the main page, and you'll click on it and you'll get the main, this is what Brightsword is, and then you'll get a table of contents for all the chapters or sections, what have you, and you'll experience your Brightsword rules through that methodology. And so you'll be able to pick a view of talents where you show me only the ones that have or that are in this path, or show me only the ones that are applicable to this way of making a character. It's going to be in a database and not as a PDF, not as a classic rulebook.
Gotcha.
we're working with the World Anvil people, and Matt Green, our team member, that's the primary guy working with them. They are amazing. They are never letting their foot off the gas of trying to partner with new people in development and expand. Every time we turn around, we're getting a notification that World Anvil has added a new capability that wasn't there before. And so we're only at the tip of the iceberg of what's possible. So you'll be able to call up a view of the part of Brightsword you want to look at, a way you choose how it looks to you on the page, on the screen.
Yeah. Is the answer, because we know you don't want to have to stick around. The table that you're looking at now, we're out in the out on the right. The paths are shown as letters. That's boring. That's not the way. It's clearly a placeholder for the beta playtest. But when you'll be able to do that in the future, you'll go to an icon-based link. It says, "Show me path." Coin path talents. Show me wheel skills, or be able to mix and match. That's a thing that's coming. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, that'll be exciting as we look forward to that. I know personally I have really enjoyed World Anvil and using it and looking at it and the adventures that are on it and things like that. So I've really enjoyed that aspect of the.
And right now, Matt's working with a guide for a live, fillable, linked character sheet. So you can go onto World Anvil and create your character, create your adventurer, with a sheet that auto-populates from the choices you make.
Yeah. That's awesome.
All it's going to do is grow. We're adding something every single day. We're about to drop the bomb with Into the Darkness, right?
We are going to drop the bomb on you guys tomorrow morning when you wake up. You're going to have a brand new adventure called the Fortress of Last Daylight. And you're going to have new maps that I'm going to release throughout the week. Tons and tons of articles. I'll tell you guys right now that the original document for the town of Zilsa, which everything's going to be centered around, was 38 pages. So that many articles on locations within the town, a ton of applications for role playing, a ton of opportunities. And we're just getting, like John said, we're just getting bigger and better and more all the time. So I think you guys are really going to like what drops tomorrow and in the coming weeks.
Not me. I'm hating it because he's currently outwriting me. It's crushing my soul. It's because it's awesome. I've looked at I review the stuff, and I want to go play there. I want to go explore those places. And so we're alternating, adventures in terms of adventure builds, campaign builds. So now the bar is so high, I gotta pole vault over it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But that ability to go in there and, look at a region map. It shows you the locales, and then break it down to the scenes for the Game Master view, the Game Master subscription view. It shows you those little maps that you port over into Roll20 to put the players on when they part of the encounter, etc. That the depth of it for this particular campaign is ridiculous.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna actually shift over my Roll20 really quick and just show some of the maps for Fiend of the Forest on here. And this was our first adventure that we went through with some pre-gens. And man, what a great and fun. It's pretty fast little adventure. This is
little lesson there, Jeff. I'm the only surviving member of the original group of that formed DGS, the game company, many years ago.
Yep.
All the rest are dead, I think. Yeah. But I found a photograph the other day. We were originally going to be a role-playing company first and a skirmish game company second. We ended up doing the reverse, basically at the last minute. But so Fiend of the Forest, when we produced the original set of models for the company, they were the models from the Fiend of the Forest adventure, which is going to be the sample adventure in the original Brightsword rulebook. Now then leadership of the company topsy-turvy that and said, nope, we're going to be a skirmish game company first. Write me a set of skirmish rules. Holy crap, okay, I'll get right on that. But I have a photograph of a member of the company, it's a good friend of ours, Mike Turner, running a session of Fiend of the Forest in 2010.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure he's not going to be happy that I show him my photo. But all those models were not there to be in free bands playing free blades. They were there to be, the black. It was originally Black Rose, not Black Thorn. The Mystic, the Herodellans that go off to solve the problem.
Yep.
It wasn't the Stalker originally. It was the Mercenary Crossbowman that went along with the part. But that adventure has been something we've used demoed at cons for a decade.
Yeah.
So,
well, they almost all died in the bandit hideout.
Yes.
I think two of them were still up. The Varanic, Father Riker was out of spell power and everything.
That illusion magic, though, that's no joke.
That's right.
They're like getting ready to charge the line. The illusionist is like, tree. They're like, oh
no! Well done. So that thing's been around. I have the original crappy core graphic design files. These maps are just light years ahead of where we were when we were first making that thing. So it's nice to see that come out of the vault and get some play. But that's we intend it to be the most basic of the things we ever do. Is a 3-scene, kind of pre-jam. We can throw it on at cons. We'll start doing Brightsword sessions at cons in addition to Freeblades events once we start doing cons again.
Well, as always, you can count me in as a GM. Once we start doing cons again.
That's already write your name down. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Well,
Jeff,
cool.
Don't say.
Yeah, I don't need to participate in the con. I'll just work. It's fine.
Sure, dude. Right? Well, we can talk about that. Not all compensation is salary.
Oh my gosh.
There's a deals to be made.
Anyway.
Sorry, we're interfering with your deal. We're just happy to be hanging out here, talking our game.
It's actually really cool to sit in on this on our end and listen and watch and learn. And Jeff, we just can't tell you how cool that is.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's I've just really enjoyed the game. I like Freeblades a lot, and every time I play, the thing I like about Brightsword is in some other RPGs, the encounters can kind of drag on really long, but in this one, it's like you get in and like everybody's turn just kind of goes really quick. It's really smooth, and yeah, it's also a really fun game, and people drop so much. It's so easy to drop a character that's like it can really put the pressure on.
Just takes one spike.
Yeah. When the apprentice knight of Barrack or whatever gets dropped by a crit from the duelist that comes into the side there, or it was the bodyguard. Bodyguard came down the pathway and just beat him down with her greatsword. That was that.
And another.
So in our playtest group, one of our characters, Matt Green, is a blade, and they were in a ruined Kazark ruined city in a vault somewhere in a ruined Kazark, one of the ruined Kazark cities, and they encounter a stone golem guardian, this thing that says construct guarding this doorway, and it's got double D16 Mar fists.
Oh my gosh!
With D12 plus 1 damage, I think plus 1 damage. So Matt's fighting it, and I spiked with both D16s, and one of them was spiked a second time. And so the ultimate damage of that hit was 90 with Bone Crusher. So he took 9 or 10 life points from one hit, only had like 6. So he's down 4, so he will fail his death test when it comes around to him again. So the Shadow Hunter goes and heals him, gets him back into where he's not going to die. But of course, he's still right in front of this thing. Hit him again, knocked him down. Shadowhunter heals him. And I'm like, you need to change your name, dude, from Shadowhunter to Necromancer. I'm just driving my doorway, but you keep raising the dead. What the hell? They wouldn't say, oh, we got to stop fighting this guy. He's just going to keep murdering us. No, not while Jason has spell points. We're going to keep throwing him in there.
Now, okay, so I just want to clarify. So if they when they go negative, they have to start making death tests. If they fail a death test,
if they're negative, the negative is how many they went under.
Yep.
Is a minus to that.
And if they fail their death test, they're dead.
They roll a 1, they're dead.
Okay. After modifiers, if they roll 1 after modifiers, they're dead.
If they got punched 6 under, they're -6 that die roll. They're going to die. Somebody's going to intervene with healing of some kind, or they're going to fail that die roll.
Savage.
That's about the first time. Next time comes around, which, like you say, puts the pressure on. We've been talking about that. That has a little to do with my style as a game master. I don't tell the players you can't go to Barad-dûr as first levels. It's just badass. Now, if you're dumb enough to go to Barad-dûr as a first level, TPK. I'm not going to prevent you from doing it. It's a sandbox. So, if you go and you get a 90 damage point hit from a stone golem, maybe you should leave and come back when you're a little bigger. If you stay here, you put your dude at risk. That's why that's why the heroes can ignore fear tests if they want. Hey, it's not a fear test. It's just bright. Get the hell out of here. That thing is lit at 90 on me, So,
well, you failed your fear test. Maybe you should run away. Nah, it's fine.
Yeah. You failed your, bad life choice test.
It's fun until you torch a first aid roll or something and kill them anyway.
Wait, if you guys got a second, we have a story about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, the group's got 7 people in it. In fact, they're the people in the Brightsword image with the Zalakar coming in the hallway. Yeah. Those are all real life portraits of the role playing the playtest party, right? Where's that image? It's what you encounter when you reach a thing you don't have access to in World Animal, right? Yeah. So.
Okay.
So, right, you know what I'm talking about? So one of them is he's a shadow hunter. He's got the healing magic, right? He is actually the shadow hunter. He's the guy who sponsored the model, right? Created the model, and the class, the profession. So, and they're fairly high level now. They're I think they were practitioners at the time. They're adepts now. So a character, if I get the sequence right, one of the players goes down, and the shadow hunter isn't nearby, but the fire wizard has first aid. So he goes over to heal him. He's down 1 life point, -1, whatever. Goes over to heal him and torches the roll. No, he's at 0. He torches the roll and he puts him under, and his initiative's coming back around. And he turns out a fate stone, rolls again, torches that one.
Oh, jeez.
So the guy's down 1. His initiative's coming, and he can't get there's no way for the shadow hunter to reach him before his initiative comes, even if he delays. So he comes around. He has to take his death test. Rolls a 1.
Oh, jeez.
He's got a fate stone. Cashes it in. Rolls a 1. So we're on 5. We're on 4-1 so far, and all because he was at 1 and took a -1 from the first aid test, because he wasn't down. He was just down to 1 point. So what made him 0 was the failed first aid.
Oh, jeez.
So there's all this. This character's been with the group for years. This is, one of the his name is all over some of the magic items and the lore and whatever, and nobody wants to see him go. Nobody wants to see him go. And I am nothing if not a benevolent and kind game master. But ultimately, tears will flow. Sometimes I drink them, and sometimes I try to fight them off. So I said, I'll tell you what. If the party cashes in every fate stone they have, I'll let you re-roll that die again.
Oh, yeah, that's benevolent. Which
they did. I got 5 fate stones out of it, and he rolled again, and he rolled a 1.
Oh, jeez. It was meant to be, man. That's his death right there.
My friends, the Gaul have decided that this character is not to be part of this adventure anymore. I cannot screw with the gods any further than I have. He's dead. So it's legendary. So all these guys are good friends. They're all super friends. But Brady won't sit next to Tim or let him first aid him ever again.
That's so funny. That's so funny. Well, cool. Thanks for hanging out and chatting a little bit. I appreciate it. I think I'm gonna close down the recording. It doesn't mean we have to leave the Discord. I'm just gonna.
Oh, you recorded that? Crap.
Yeah, sorry. It's out there. So
they're gonna tell me that's not how it happened.
Yeah, right. That's not how it happened. You malevolently killed me with that gall. Anyway, all right.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool. So thanks for joining us. If you guys are listening, and thanks for watching this and learning how to create some Brightsword characters. And if you stuck around for the crazy stories that Jon told, that's also fun. So thanks so much. I hope everybody has a good night.